Zoe Walker was just drifting off to sleep on the living room couch when her phone buzzed. The glow from the screen lit up the dark room. It was 2:03 a.m. Her first instinct was to ignore it, but something about the call made her reach for the phone. Unknown number. She hesitated, then answered. A shaky, tired voice came through the speaker. "Jules, please, I need you right now. I messed up. Can you come get me? I'm at 107 Hawthorne Drive." Zoe sat up, confused. "Sorry, I think you've got the wrong number." There was silence on the other end for a second. Then the girl whispered, almost too quietly, "I don't know who else to call." The line went dead. Zoe stared at the phone in her hands. It was probably a mistake, someone drunk or panicking. She could have rolled over and gone back to sleep, but she didn't. 107 Hawthorne Drive. She recognized that street. Her dad worked in that neighborhood. It was the rich part of town, the kind of homes with marble floors, iron gates, and security cameras on every corner. She got up, pulled on her hoodie, and quietly slipped out the front door. Zoe didn't own a car. She walked fast, phone in her pocket, hands deep in her sleeves to block the chill in the night air. The streets were quiet, empty. Not even the sound of tires on pavement, just the wind and her own thoughts. By the time she reached Hawthorne Drive, the sky was beginning to lighten faintly at the edges. The address was real, a massive mansion with tall gates that stood slightly open, as if waiting. She walked up to the front door and raised a hand to knock, but before she could, it opened. A girl about her age stood there barefoot, wearing silk pajamas, her hair tangled and her eyes swollen. She stared at Zoe, her face full of confusion. "You're not Jules." Zoe shook her head. "No, I'm Zoe. You called me by mistake, I think, but you sounded like you needed help." The girl blinked slowly. "You actually came." Zoe nodded. Didn't feel right ignoring it. The girl hesitated, then stepped aside. "Come in." Zoe stepped into a hallway that looked like something from a movie. Crystal chandeliers, a staircase with a gold-trimmed rail, oil paintings lining the walls. It didn't feel like a house. It felt like a museum. "I'm Amelia," the girl said quietly, dropping onto a plush velvet couch in the main living room. Zoe sat a few feet away on the edge of a leather chair. "You okay?" Amelia let out a breath. "Not really. I had a fight with my friends. They left me at a party across town. I was going to call my driver, Jules, but I guess I dialed wrong." Zoe looked down. "Well, I'm glad you called me." They sat in silence for a few moments. Amelia leaned her head back against the couch. "You ever feel like everyone around you is fake?" "All the time," Zoe said. "People smile at you, then talk about you behind your back." Amelia glanced at her. "Yeah, that." Zoe watched her carefully. The girl didn't seem cruel or spoiled, not like the other rich kids at school. Right now, she just looked tired, human. "I don't usually open up to strangers," Amelia admitted, "but something about you feels safe." Zoe shrugged, trying to hide the small smile tugging at her lips. "Maybe I'm just too tired to be anyone else." Amelia laughed softly for the first time. It wasn't forced. They talked for a while after that, about music, books, things they wished they could say to people but never did. And somewhere in that giant, lonely mansion, two girls from different worlds started to feel less alone. As dawn crept over the sky, Zoe stayed, not because she had to, but because she wanted to. And for the first time in a long while, Amelia let someone in. The early morning sun poured through the tall windows of the living room, casting golden light across the carpet. Zoe sat cross-legged on the floor, a half-empty mug of herbal tea beside her, watching Amelia sleep peacefully on the couch. Her breathing had slowed, her face now soft and calm, nothing like the anxious mess she had been hours earlier. Zoe stood quietly, not wanting to wake her. She tiptoed into the massive kitchen, scribbled a quick note on a piece of paper, and placed it near the sink where Amelia would see it. "Didn't want to leave without saying goodbye. Hope you're okay now." "Zoe." She moved toward the front door, unsure if she was leaving a place or a moment behind. Either way, she knew she'd never forget this night. She had come on a hunch, a feeling, and somehow it had turned into something real. Just as she reached for the doorknob, a voice called out behind her. "Wait!" Zoe turned. Amelia stood in the hallway, still wrapped in her blanket, her eyes sleepy but clear. "You were really going to leave without saying anything?" she asked. Zoe gave a soft smile. "Didn't want to wake you. You looked like you finally found some peace." Amelia walked closer, then stopped a few feet away. "Thank you for staying. I don't know what I would have done if you hadn't shown up." "I'm just glad I did," Zoe said. There was a pause between them. Amelia looked hesitant, like she wanted to ask something, but wasn't sure how. "Do you want to come back later?" Amelia asked. "For lunch, or just to hang out?" Zoe raised an eyebrow. "Seriously?" Amelia nodded. "I meant what I said. You're real. I don't get much of that around here." Zoe hesitated. She'd never been invited into a world like this before, but something told her Amelia wasn't like the others in it. "Sure," she said. "I'd like that." Later that afternoon, Zoe returned to the mansion, this time walking through the front gate without hesitation. Amelia was waiting at the door with a nervous grin and 2 iced coffees in hand. "I wasn't sure if you'd really come back," she admitted. "I wasn't sure either," Zoe replied, "but something told me to." Over the next few weeks, something unexpected began to grow between them. Amelia introduced Zoe to her piano room, where they'd sit for hours playing music, switching between classical pieces and improvised melodies. Zoe taught her how to braid hair like she used to do for her cousins. Amelia, in turn, helped Zoe apply for a summer music program she'd never even heard of, and used her connections to get her a last-minute audition. They were from completely different worlds. Zoe's dad was a janitor. Amelia's parents were investment bankers who were rarely home. But when they were together, none of that seemed to matter. They were just 2 girls who needed someone to understand them. One evening, as they sat in the garden sharing a plate of cookies from the staff kitchen, Amelia looked over and said, "You know that call was never meant for you, but I'm really glad you got it." Zoe smiled. "Me too." What started as a wrong number at 2 a.m. turned into something more powerful than either of them expected. An honest friendship that neither money nor background could buy. For the first time in a long time, they both had someone who showed up, not for what they had, but for who they were. And that made all the difference.